Hello, my boils, my ghouls, and my zools. So, pardon me for this little impromptu episode. No intro, no music, no none of that. As you can see, I have my closet open. I was actually just choosing my gear for Thunder on the Tundra in Wisconsin, so I don't need to have a typical setup that I have. I don't need to have a pistol or anything like that, so redoing my belt a little bit, you know, taking the leg strap off and pistol holders off, and just saving a little weight and stuff like that. So anyhow, the point of today was I was sitting here just, you know, tinkering with my gear and whatnot, getting ready to pack it up, and this guy shows up on my doorstep. This is the old PSA 74. So over the past nearly 4 months, I've been trying to get this gun back, or, you know, get some kind of update from Palmetto. And at one point, they couldn't even find the gun. Seriously. So it took a lot of communications. I mean, I couldn't even actually, I actually couldn't estimate how many communications we've had, but a lot, like a lot. Full-time job worth a lot. And there's no work order in the box or anything, but one thing that was immediately apparent before I even really inspected it is, this is a brand new gun. They didn't even repair the gun. They just put my furniture on a brand new gun. And what made me suspicious at first is, the first thing I noticed is my ALG is gone and it wasn't in the box. So they literally just put my shit on another gun. And then I obviously had to look my serial number up, and I'm like, motherfuckers, man. Because, you know, I think we all watched that Garen Thumb episode, and the, if you didn't watch the Mishiko episode, go watch Mishiko. He is the best gun YouTuber on YouTube, straight up. Mishiko. So, their AK-74s, believe they had bolt and carrier issues, and there was some bizarre marring on the lugs and bolt face and stuff. And I think Misha had a broken firing pin, if I remember correctly, something like that. And so they got their guns completely rebuilt. You know, that's what they said in the episode, is they got their guns completely rebuilt. And this guy, I noticed right off the bat that was a brand new receiver. I mean, first thing I did was look at the barrel, because there was no work order in the box, as I said, and just made sure there was no marring on the bottom of the barrel where I'd been slapping it down on stuff. And yeah, that's a brand new barrel, unless you can never put it past PSA, but hey, maybe they nitrated the barrel again. You never know. You never know. So anyhow, I have not test fired it yet, so I do not know if it even works. Let's hope so. And I was able to get a little more information about what's going on. So PSA bought a barrel factory. They are now producing their own barrels. These 74 barrels, the first gen of them was out of spec. So if you're buying a first generation AK-74 from PSA, you gotta know, bad firing pins, bad carriers, they're toolcraft, and not good. And let me see, I think there was a metallurgy problem with the lugs, if I remember correctly, so probably bad heat treating or something like that. And yeah, issue that didn't come immediately apparent was the barrels were out of spec, and it's only so slight. It's a throating problem, and basically it's acting like if you had high grain ammo in a gun that can't take very high grain ammo. Like, for example, the Tantal does not like the 66 grain 545, but it shoots the 55 grain all day long perfectly fine. But when I put the 66 grain in there, it gets stuck in the chamber and I have to ramrod it out. With the AK-74 here, that was happening with 55 grain, which is not good. That's not good at all. And they claim this should be able to shoot 66 grain just fine, so we'll see about that when we see about that. When I can test fire this thing, I don't know. Maybe in Wisconsin, you know, maybe we'll take it on a stage or something like that just for fun, you know, I don't know. Test PSA's metal a little bit. But one of the reasons I wanted to do this little update and share this saga of this PSA 74, because this is probably the cheapest 74 on the market, because I believe the Riley is about $100 more. And if I was going to compare the two, I have no experience with a Riley. I'd actually really like to check out a Rack 74, frankly. I'd really like to check them out and see, you know, the comparison now that I have a lot of experience on a cheap-ass AK here. And, you know, all in all, for a cheap AK, it's really not bad. It's just that I had a throating problem. I didn't have any of the bolt problems or anything like that. My wearing is perfectly fine. So, and my firing pin was perfectly fine. I shot a lot of goddamn rounds. This made it to about, I want to say, 2,200 rounds before it shit the bed. So, it has, you know, test fire rounds on it, so we'll call it 0 right now, because there's no more than 100 rounds on this thing, looking at the bolt face. But when I received the, actually, let's start from the beginning of me receiving this back, so you know what to expect with a PSA warranty repair, because I know how many new shooters are watching this channel. I mean, I get a retarded amount of communication for a small channel, like a lot, full-time job, a lot. I answer a lot of questions in my DMs and stuff on Instagram, and you know, I get a pretty good response on the comment section here sometimes, man. I gotta give it to you guys. You know, I see people with thousands of subscribers that don't even have 10 comments on their video, and I mean, we got, what, a couple hundred or whatever, and I mean, yeah, you guys are actually communicating. That's cool, man. That's really cool. I love this community. Fucking awesome. AK community is the best. Just, I don't know, get a comment, at least sub. But anyway, sorry for the ramble. You know I love rambling. I'm sitting here getting my gear ready. We're going to start from the beginning of me receiving this gun back, so you know what to expect with a PSA repair. Waiting nearly 4 months, all these communications and everything, and I'm just sitting here getting my gear ready. Pound at the door. And I open the door, and a UPS driver sitting there with a big old gun-sized box, so I'm like, I know what that is. Motherfuckers! So, yeah, they didn't give me a call, they didn't give me an email or anything to inform me that I had a gun on the way to my doorstep. So, strike one. I open up the box and immediately notice that's not an ALG. I look around the box, there's no ALG in there, so they took my ALG. Strike two. There's no work order in the box. Strike three. I have no freaking clue what's been done to this gun. And, you know, upon inspection, finding it's a brand new gun without informing me. Strike four. They seem to have at least zeroed it, and they seem to have, well, I mean, they didn't replace my sight leaf. They just gave me a brand new gun that already had one on there. So my TDI mount that I had put on here, that was in the box. My ALG was not. They kept the ALG. So I wonder whose rifle is getting my ALG. I wouldn't put it past PSA, straight up. At least this is not a PSA triangle folder. This is that fat tactical one. So they at least put my stock back on there. And, you know, that's the TDI grip. So at least my grip went back on there. And I gotta say, man, this is rapidly becoming my favorite grip. It's really fantastic grip for a cheap grip. I mean, it's just fantastic. I can't get over it. I love it. I'd like to get more of them, honestly. Anyhow, so got all them strikes against it. Was not happy seeing any of that. I haven't test fired it, so I have no idea how it's shooting yet, but I imagine it's probably shooting just fine. Action feels good. Feels better than the first gun I had, because this isn't the original one I had. Motherfuckers. I really wanted to see how many rounds we could put on that receiver, and honestly, I was really more curious about the head spacing on that gun, so I really wanted to wreck that goddamn gun, but didn't get to. We're gonna have to wreck this one. So you know, it's got a test fire on it. I don't know how many PSA does for a test fire, but this hammer face has no more than 100, you know, maybe 50 to 100 rounds or something. There's no way it has more than that, you know, like a couple mags at least, maybe. You know, I've test fired and then swapped out enough ALGs to see, you know, fresh hammer faces and all that to know that, yeah, this thing has well below 100 rounds. I can see that. So, in conclusion, I would say that the warranty experience with PSA was a goddamn nightmare. I had so many, I mean, I'm talking like 50 phone calls with them back and forth. Like a lot of phone calls over just a simple warranty repair. And basically what happened is that I received an RMA label, a return merchandise authorization label, which lets you mail the gun directly out to the company and lets you receive it back for a warranty repair legally as a gun on your doorstep. So apparently there was an RMA form I was supposed to fill out that I didn't fill out and I didn't receive. So, okay, there's a problem. All right, they don't know what my issue is with the gun. So after the first time I spoke to them, I'm not sure how that wasn't corrected, but it wasn't corrected. And then 20 phone calls in, that still wasn't corrected. And, you know, I don't even know. Like I said, I was estimating about 50 phone calls or so. It may have been more than that. I don't know. It was so many phone calls. Oh my God. And I had to call them back every single time they were going to, you know, call me back or whatever. The only person there that actually called me back was their customer service rep, Cameron. That was it. He was the one person out of all the people I spoke to at PSA that actually did what he said he was going to do. The only other person involved in the process whatsoever that did what they said they were going to do was Ben at PSA. So, yeah, we all know Ben at PSA. We all love Ben. You would have seen him in Clay's SHOT Show video when he was talking to PSA and they were announcing the spiker and all that. He's a good guy. Very honest guy. Probably shouldn't be working for Palmetto. I'll tell you that straight up. Go work for a fucking honest company like, I don't know. KUSA has extremely aggressive marketing, but at least they don't lie to people. That's cool. I mean, their marketing is probably more aggressive than their guns warrant, because, I mean, it's not like they don't have problems either. I mean, their guns got problems like any other gun. They just don't have as many as PSA has, straight up. But also, they sell about as many guns as Palmetto gets back in returns, and that actually is true. That's how many guns I'm not saying that's how few guns KUSA sells. I'm saying that's how many guns PSA sells. They sell so many guns. Like, it's unimaginable. Like, I mean, if... Shit, dude, if a bunch of fucking, like, liberal firebrand politicians wanted to go after the gun industry, shut down Palmetto, and you'd actually, like... Yeah, you'd take out quite a few guns on the market right there, coming onto the market right there, because, like, they're selling thousands and thousands and thousands. And then, you know, you got, like, companies like Riley or KUSA or whatever. They're smaller companies. They're selling in the hundreds. So, you know, that's something to think about when buying from a manufacturer, too. How many guns they sell and how much attention they're able to actually put on those guns, because... We previously spoke about Waffen Works, and frankly, I think PSA is on a grander scale Waffen Works story. And if you don't know the Waffen Works story, basically they were an importer and manufacturer here in the U.S. They were doing AKs, and they were doing some really cool 74s. They had a milled 74 that was pretty cool, man. Super cool. I think they might have even made a couple Tantals. I'm not sure. But, you know, I know they did a lot of Bulgarian kits. And basically what happened is they were using Nodak spuds, which are fantastic receivers, and then they ended up getting in-house flats and doing it themselves. First couple runs were actually pretty good, perfectly fine. And then they started having the QC issues and the heat treating issues, and eventually the company imploded, got sold off, and Waffen Works is no more. I think, who did they get bought by? Like, it was like a company called DDI or something like that. I don't know. That was a long time ago, man. That's history. But I think PSA is on that kind of trip, honestly. I really do. Because you just can't sustain doing test runs on the public. And that's what PSA is doing, straight up. They're putting shitty guns out, and they're testing it on the public, and they're using the fact that they have a lifetime warranty to deal with it, and that's how they're making their money. They're grifting a little bit. The way it works is they know the vast majority of people that have problems with the guns are not going to send them back for a warranty repair, because that's actually, it's just a general thing of the industry. That maybe it's the gun industry. I don't know if it's like that in the electronics industry. You know, when I was in the music industry, I didn't work retail very much, so I wouldn't know much about that. But yeah, that's essentially what they are doing. And you know, I suspected that, and you know, I've talked to enough people like internally to, you know, kind of surmise that that is what is going on. And I mean, a little bit of it is conjecture on my part, but it's obvious enough. I mean, dude, they just put those jackals out and they're having problems with them, man. Jesus Christ. And you know, I want them to shake out as a good company because they're doing so much. And they're doing cool stuff, man. You know, they got that Chinese Spiker coming out. They got that whole, like, clone series coming out. The ideas are great ideas. Dude, the domestic crink. Frankly, if I was KUSA, I wouldn't have been worried about that 104. I would have just fucking concentrated on trying to put a crink to market as fast as possible and just take the fucking market. But looks like PSA is going to do that first. And also, if you don't know the internal AK community news, Tula bought up, PSA bought up a crazy amount of Tula crink kits. Like a crazy amount. So they're going to be coming out with actual Tula crinks at some point. Unless they're just holding on to them to control the market. And if they are doing that, that would make them the biggest scumbag company on the planet. I'd say it's pretty scummy doing these test runs on the public, but that's something that usually a small company does, and you know, it's a bad small company does. And you know, I would just chalk it up to, as long as you get a good gun in the end, whatever. But if they're controlling the market with purchases, that's some pretty bad shit. And I'm not saying that that's what they're doing, because we've yet to see what they're going to do with these kits. Because they are building the RPKs, and they are building those Wassers. I think they're either Wassers or Romy Gs or something. I can't remember, man. I know they bought up a whole bunch of parts kits, though. And, you know, they are starting to trickle out to market, and we don't have any word on the quality of them. I'd imagine they're probably okay, honestly, probably, because I mean, it's not their own internal parts that have, you know, just massive problems, because the problem doesn't seem to be with assembly. And you know, they did have a lot of QC issues, you know, like we all know about that, but it seems like even the QC issues are more it's their internal parts, man. They just can't make parts. Their internal parts suck. So, you know, when they're using, I mean, Toolcraft is not their own, but, you know, they're really sticking with these Toolcraft, and, like, they suck, man. Their internal barrels suck. Those FN barrels were the shit. Wish they just kept getting barrels from FN. But anyway, like I said, I know how many new shooters are watching this channel, and I just want to make sure I was giving you a fair, honest shakeout of this thing, because dealing with their warranty was a nightmare, and I don't want any of you to go through the same thing that I went through. I got plenty of AKs. If I was recommending, you know, that you buy a PSA because of the warranty, which maybe for someone that never really shoots too much, you know, like them like once every few months at the range shooters, maybe that's like an okay thing for them, you know. But for someone like me or the people you see around me in the videos shooting, you know, a lot of us shoot 7 days a week. Waiting 4 months for a warranty repair is not acceptable, and when you're shooting that much. So, you know, if this was a higher dollar gun like an Arsenal or something like that, I'd expect that thing back within the month for sure. Because they're not dealing with thousands and thousands of guns like PSA is. And I've had warranty repairs on guns before, and they typically took about 2 to 3 weeks. I've had it 3 times now I've had to do it, and every single time it took 2 to 3 weeks about, and maybe 2 or 3 communications back and forth, and that was it. PSA took 4 months. I don't even know how many like I said, about 50, something like that. Crazy amount. Crazy amount. And they ended up stealing my trigger. Motherfuckers. So, you know, I should actually just call them back and ask me to mail me out a trigger. For sure. Yeah, actually, I think I'm going to do that. I shouldn't pull punches with PSA. They've given me enough fucking grief over the, you know, just how many fucking times I've had to call. Oh my god, dude. They're so annoying. They're so annoying. But like I said, Cameron and Ben, they're the only people in the company that treated me correctly whatsoever. At all. They're the only things, they seem to be the only people that did anything right. So, boils, ghouls, and zools, that is all I have for you. In conclusion, don't buy this fucking garbage. Don't do it. If you see it used for like $700 and you want to fucking knock around a trash rifle or whatever, sure. If this is going to be your main AK, no sir. No sir. If you're some YouTuber jackass, you know, like me, that fucking wants to check it out and doesn't really give a fuck about how many rifles he has or whatever, because, you know, when you do this every single day, all day, you tend to get deals on rifles, you tend to get a lot of trades and all that, and, I mean, I paid bottom dollar for this gun, I'm not gonna lie. I got it used, but, you know, I paid bottom dollar for it. Bottom dollar, and that's not the first time I've got guns like that, so, you know, it's like if you're into, you know, baseball, you're gonna end up getting some, you know, cheap and free gear here and there. If you're into, you know, whatever you're into, you know, the more you're into it, the more you end up with stuff. This, I just ended up with cheaply. So I was curious enough to check it out, and it turns out, yeah, it's a nightmare, man. It's a nightmare. So I'm actually still, I'm liking that I get to continue the saga with this gun, because it's a fresh gun, and let's see how many rounds this one can take, huh? So, yeah, maybe, I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but I might just take it on a stage at Thunder on the Tundra, because you're allowed different guns on each stage. Just test PSA's metal a little bit on it and see if it could actually even make it through one stage after their repair system. So, boils, ghouls, and zools, again, in conclusion, don't buy this crap. Have a great day. I gotta get ready. I gotta head out. Stay safe. Have fun. Do stupid.